Amongst his peers who grew up with and came into Formula One around the same time, Lando Norris is the only one who hasn't reached the top step of a Formula One podium, let alone being considered a championship contender. And in a sport where a driver can only do so much until he inevitably has to succumb to the limits of his own machinery, is Lando Norris finally seeing the light and starting to accept that if he were to win a world title, that it would not be with McLaren? Well, let's talk about it. But before we do, consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on our latest uploads. Now that's out of the way, let's talk about Lando. It's safe to say that Lando has consistently extracted every ounce of pace on every car McLaren has given him. But even with his efforts to keep the team relevant, the fact of the matter is that Lando has world title-winning aspirations, and driving a subpar car isn't going to get him there. This is why the young British driver has recently issued a challenge to McLaren for 2023. Everyone's smiling now because we've had a good season for sure, the 23-year-old said. Everyone has done a good job. The mechanics, the engineers, I think we've pretty much maximized every opportunity that we've had. The mechanics have done an outstanding job in the toughest year for pit stops with heavier tires and worse guns. We had the fastest pit stop this year and multiple fast stops on race weekends. In so many areas, we're on a good trajectory and are better than ever. It is just the one thing you need to show all of that for it all to be worth. It is the thing that we are missing at the minute. The mechanics and engineers are fired up more than ever and have more energy than ever to go bigger and to make a better car. It's just not an easy thing to do, but they have a good plan in place. Norris would then reflect on the progress the team had made in 2022 and say, "From where we were in race 1, Bahrain, I think we've done a good job. We recovered well. If I think before the season, did we achieve in 2022 what we should have done as McLaren? Honestly, no. If we want to do well and we want to be champions at some point and we want to win races, we can't be satisfied with where we have been this season." Most F1 fans would agree that Lando's potential has been stifled by McLaren, a problem many would say that Lando brought onto himself when he signed his extension with the team this past summer. At the time, Lando would hit back at his critics and say, "They're clueless," Norris said when asked what he would tell his doubters. "I don't know why. Everyone thinks they know. He definitely could have gone here. He could have done that," he added. "But most of the time they know absolutely nothing. All these people coming up with these conclusions, I have played, let's say, a little bit more of a long-term game rather than short-term." In a separate interview with Formula One's official website, Lando would dive deeper and share what inevitably made him want to stay with McLaren. In that interview, he would say, "It's just faith. It's just honesty. That's the main things I need. I'm not a guy who in any way likes BS or who likes people trying to make me happy. I like just people being honest. I have faith in McLaren. I have faith in the guys I work with, the whole team. But time will tell. You can never be 100% certain where you are going to be, but you can have a good shot at it." At the time, Andreas Seidl was still the team's leading figure, but as we all know now, that won't be the case for 2023. A change that former Formula One driver, now pundit at Sky Sports F1, Martin Brundle believes will be bad news for Lando. "There's no doubt about it. Losing Seidl is bad news for McLaren going forward," said Brundle. "He's had a long-term relationship with the Volkswagen Group with Porsche, so I can understand what he's done, and I can understand why McLaren wanted to expedite that. The big thing for McLaren is their new wind tunnel in 2024. So Lando will be looking at it thinking, why has Andreas jumped ship? What has Andreas seen at Audi that he much prefers to McLaren?" And this is exactly what has led Sky Sports F1 pundit Karen Chandok to say that Red Bull has the golden opportunity now to snatch him before Mercedes gets a hold of him. Red Bull's team principal, Christian Horner, has revealed in the past that he and Lando had conversations about him trading in his papaya McLaren for a Navy Red Bull. He said, "We've talked to Lando a couple of times over the years, but every time we've had a conversation, he's signed a contract with McLaren the next day. He's on a long-term contract with McLaren, and it looks like he's going to be there a few more years. As we stand right now, Lando is contracted to race for McLaren until the end of the 2025 season, which means Lando will have to deal with the team's ineptitude for another 3 years. Especially now that their CEO Zak Brown has revealed when speaking to the team's official website where he would say that it will take team another 2 years to be at the level they want to be. I think probably another 2 years, Even though we're all kind of on the same money now, some teams have bigger infrastructures, said Brown. We're still waiting for our wind tunnel, which is down the road, to be done, which will be done here shortly, and new simulation equipment. So even though everyone's kind of on an equal playing field at most teams from an annual expenditure standpoint, a handful of the teams have come in with a better technology infrastructure, which we're catching up on and some other teams are. So I think that will need to happen. And then anytime you have a new regulation set that came out like it did, someone gets it right and someone gets it wrong. And then what ends up happening is everyone sees who got it right and they gravitate towards what they've seen. Kind of what works from an aerodynamic point of view. Earlier this season, Norris had claimed that McLaren had no excuses to be in the fight for the championship by the year 2024. He told Automotor und Sport, "That will be our first year in which we no longer have any excuses. At the moment, we can still make good excuses. We always look at what we can do better, and 2024 will be the first year when we will operate almost at the level of the top teams with our infrastructure. The rest is up to us, the people who work here." But as much as we all can wish to see Lando with Red Bull or McLaren be able to up their game and help Lando become a formidable force in the championship, only time will inevitably tell. But what is a fact now is that Lando has expressed interest in driving in the Indy 500 one day. Lando's mentioned he'd like to do the Indy 500 one day, Brown told Planet F1. And of course, one of my first days on the job was bringing over Fernando Alonso to do the Indy 500, which was such an awesome experience for everybody. So yeah, the calendars are pretty crazy these days, but I think racing drivers like to drive racing cars, and yeah, I could see that happening. And there you have it, guys. So, do you wish to see Lando join a different team? Or do you have faith that McLaren will one day figure it out? Let us know in the comments section below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on our latest uploads.